Michael Maher, lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I was very, very impressed when I was introduced to you about a week ago, and I'm very excited to have this conversation with you.
You make me blush.
Ah, that's wonderful. Would you like to tell us why you're here?
So, 3 years ago, I had a stroke. It was a Friday morning, and I woke up, threw back the doorknob, stood up, and standing next to the bed, I realized my arm felt funny. There's no pain, just funny. So, swinging my arm, trying to work out what's wrong. My wife said, "Are you okay?" And I turned to say, "I don't know what's wrong," and went, "Woo!" And you think, shit, that's not good. So you're high as a kite. So I had a stroke. Then it's a sliding doors moment that propels you into another world. And I found that advocacy for stroke and brain injuries is become a passion for me. Thus, I'm here.
Well, that's wonderful to hear, because as I just said before, you're relatively young in head injury years. You're only 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
So that's quite interesting. I often think about the comparison between traumatic brain injury and stroke, which they're essentially damage to the brain, but it seems to me that stroke people kind of, I think, a little bit more cognitively there in a way that traumatic brain injury might not be. Or am I? Why don't you educate me?
I'm not an expert to be able to educate. I think, for starters, you can have a stroke and have clot retrieval or clot busting drugs and not have permanent damage to the brain so much. If you miss the 3 to 4 hour window, like I did, I was asleep, I've got a permanent dead patch. Luckily for me, the location is speech and fine motor skills right hand. So chopsticks are a no-no. But I've met stroke guys who have a much worse brain damage than me, because it really depends on where the clot lodges in the brain. So it's luck of the draw, unfortunately.
There were a series of abbreviations that we spoke about in our conversation, and I'd like you to speak about what PFOs are.
So when I was 46, fit, gym 4 or 5 days a week. I'm ex-military. I run a company. So mentally and physically, I've been pushed and medically tested throughout my life. So I'm not the usual candidate for stroke. There's no underlying things like heart, obesity, age, diabetes, etc. So when they rule out you having a second stroke, they go to town trying to establish why you had a stroke. So CT scans, MRIs, etc., trying to work out why. And they finally isolated to what turns out to be about a quarter of all strokes, called PFO. In the heart, between the upper right and left atria, there's a hole or valve between them that we are all born with. It's to aid in breathing from the blood when you're a fetus inside your mother. Then when you're born and you take a breath and your lungs engage, the hole begins to close. By the time you're 2 or 3, it's typically shut. But in 25% of people, 1 in 4, it never closes. So the hole is there with the flap of skin, and if the skin moves and the hole ebbs and flows. So if you're unlucky enough to get a clot on the right side, the inbound side from elsewhere in the body, as the hole opens, it crosses to the left and gets pumped out with fresh blood, first stop brain. And the severity of the stroke is where it lodges in the brain. there's nothing you can do. But it requires you to have, after your stroke hospitalization, to go and have heart surgery to close the hole. But talking to the cardiologist about it, said, if we had found this PFO 3 months ago prior to your stroke, and you said, I found it, can you operate? I would say leave it, because 99% of people die without ever having a problem from a PFO. Mm-hmm. And when 1 in 4 have it, we can't do heart surgery on everyone to close it. So they say it's bad luck.
Yeah. So basically, you've got to have a stroke before the operation is done.
Yes. PFO closure surgery.
Fun. Okay, so the other abbreviation you spoke about was SAVs.
Yeah, so the SAV is the Stroke Association of Victoria. It's been around for 15 plus years. It's works very at a granular level compared to the Stroke Foundation, which is the national peak body, lobbies governments, raises research money, etc. From the science of stroke fast through to post-stroke issues. SAV concentrates very much on the support post-stroke. There's nothing about how to stop a stroke. We leave it to the foundation. So SAV sets up and runs regional stroke recovery centres. So we got 2 in Cowes in Phillip Island and Wonthaggi, setting up in Geelong, Ballarat, Bendigo. They literally are drop-in centre where a stroke survivor, their family member can come down and say, blah. Because it's very hard to explain to other people, and having to be able to sit with people who've been through it is paramount. So that's what SAV does. And when I had the stroke, my stroke neuro introduced me to SAV, and I joined the board as a survivor.
Now, you said another collection of words that was quite interesting to me. And can you explain a little bit more by what is meant by infrastructure of stroke?
So there's 3 very distinct phases when you have a stroke. One, you're a level 1 ambulance call, hospital, so you need to go to a hospital ASP, and they're trying to work out, save you initially if you need that level, and to work out why you had a stroke. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is when you begin your rehab journey, typically in public health, maybe connected to the hospital you went to for the stroke. Stage 3 is post the free public health rehab stage, where you ejected into the real world and you have to work out for yourself your ongoing rehab journey, life as a person with a disability, etc. Stage 3 is falls off a cliff. The first 2 are really supported with the public health here. It's an excellent system. We are so blessed compared to many countries. Part 3, it is terrible. You're suddenly coming out of hospitalization, rehab, and they say, would you like to continue with rehab? I don't bloody know. I've had a stroke. I've never been here before. What a stupid bloody question. Where have I found the money? Where did I go? How many sessions a week should I do this? Is this for a year? Will it help me? Is this for the rest of my life? Because you get rehab fatigue, turning up again and again and addressing speech, OT, psych, etc. If it's a never-ending journey, it's very depressing. And so you see many stroke survivors end up sitting at home very depressed because it never seemed to end. So that's the 3 stages, and that stage 3 is where the SAV spends their time with very little budget, no budget basically, setting up ways to support people in that space.
You and I have a shared heritage. However, yours went for a bit longer than mine did, and that is a prior life in Japan.
No one can see that we're half Japanese.
No.
It's a nose.
Tall nose. You spoke to me about how your rehabilitation occurred across 2 languages. Take us through that.
So I lived in Japan over 3 blocks, all up in and out for about 10 years. So I speak basically fluent Japanese, my partner's Japanese, I have a German Shepherd, her commands are all in Japanese. We go to Japan most years. My parents-in-law are Japanese, the family doesn't speak English, so you have to converse in Japanese. So learning how to speak, again, all the language is there, is in the brain, but the muscle memory of how to enunciate, articulate is gone. So I had a paper keyboard trying to get words in English, but having to do Japanese, I had to get my poor speech therapist to drill me in Japanese. She had no idea if I was pronouncing, and she said, I will have to leave up to you to police yourself. But she drilled me on vocab, and my wife printing out the sheets for me to practice.
So can you read hiragana and katakana and kanji?
Yes.
Can you read that?
Yeah.
So did you lose that ability too
No,
through your stroke?
that was all there.
That's excellent.
It's
3 alphabets. I'm impressed.
But the muscle memory for past tense, past negative tense, because Japanese is drop the E, add a bit, ikanika, etc. So it's muscle memory. That's what I lost.
Wow. That's stunning. It's stunning. And I do have to say that meeting Mori, and just witnessing the relationship between you two and the language, it lit a fire in me again, because that was the best time of that life.
One of the key words no to Mori is dame.
Dame.
Like Manuel in Faulty Towers there, and I couldn't say that, so I was saying dame, and Mori's looking at me, what the hell does dame mean? So I'm practicing dame.
How long did it take you to get that?
Months. That bloody S.
So tell us more about Mori, and why did you decide on the German Shepherd, and how did you get connected with her, and she obviously wouldn't have spoken Japanese before she met you.
No, I working around the world, bit in the military and bit with other people, I had an interest in not only a dog, but German Shepherds. A family dog that can rip your throat out if you touch my family. That's dual role. So we wanted a German Shepherd. It wasn't the all German Shepherd, it was a German Shepherd. So we found a breeder, and they lots of questions to make sure you're the right kind of parents for their puppies. And I seen that the police run the dogs in German. The commands are very sharp and
authoritative.
Yes, and unmistakable, and not used by normal people in the street here. So, Lars, the dogs act So I thought, how can I do that in Japanese? So we sat down and wrote what the Japanese say. So osawari is sit, etc. So we've got when we started at the German Shepherd Club for training, and they're saying, good dog, bad dog, good sit, we're saying, ii osawari, ii kiritsu. And they're saying, what are you saying? It's like, oh, fuck off. We've got Japanese standing here.
It's great.
But it means no one can tell our dog what to do.
Of course, yeah. I didn't think of that.
And thank God she's a smart dog, because now I'm doing retraining with her into being a service dog, because she's typically with me most of the time.
I wish she was here. We'll have to get a picture of her and show it on screen as well at the same time as, and also the sunflower.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak about that?
I would, because the more people who can identify it, the better. There's a international program called the Hidden Disability Sunflower. You can Google, and there's lanyards you can purchase and wristbands, and they're meant to identify. There's a hidden disability here. There's more than meets the eye. I wear the lanyard when I fly. So airport security, check-in, boarding of the plane, my flight crew, I want them to recognize it in case I need help. So the flight crews are getting really good. Boarding, checking, anything we can do, help, ask. Boarding the plane, they recognize and say, anything we can do, ask. The flight crews are the same. Airport security typically needs a kick in the ass. I can take my belt off now, but for a long time I couldn't take it on, re-threaded. So I would say, I'm disabled, I can't take the belt off. Huh? Take out the belt. And I'm saying, I'm disabled, I can't take the belt off. When it got to the 3 times, I would typically crack it and see it as a teaching moment for stupidity. And say, so you raise your voice, the entire line is embarrassing, it's frustrating, but if I can honestly get them to do better, it helps the guy behind me who maybe can't speak up.
Yes.
Doesn't have a voice.
Absolutely.
And so it's being seen more and more. We had a bus campaign here in Melbourne. It was on the poster behind the driver in the buses. So it's becoming more common. And that's great. If you see someone with the lanyard, they need some support. I don't want to have to explain it. I shouldn't have to explain it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm in a talkative mood and I want to educate about stroke and disability, and I'm happy to explain it. But sometimes you're having a really bad freaking day. The last thing you want to have to explain it.
Of course.
I've found that with the brain injury, we talk about having our house as cards. Everything that you're doing and planning and working on is like a house of cards. And what the card that gets dropped on top that makes the house fall over, it might be a small matter. It doesn't matter. But it makes it fall over. So just being stopped in a cafe with Maury, and they council health inspector, you can't bring a dog in. And being put on the spot, I'm trying to find the words, and your heart starts to race, and they say, I'm disabled. And they look at me and like, bullshit.
But then if you've got the lanyard.
The shop knows me, they know the dog, they know I'm disabled. Please. And by the time they're pushing back, you want to take a swing or pour your coffee over the head. And your heart's racing, and it takes you 2 hours to settle down and get anything else done.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to.
No.
that's what the lanyard's for.
That's a really good explanation. Thanks. I think that's something that's going to help other people when they hear that. Thanks for that.
There's a whole world that helps you post-stroke if you look for it. Being able to talk to others is the best thing I've found, and talking to others, they agree. So find your stroke community and or brain injury community, and there you will find support.
Thanks for coming on the show, Michael.
It was a pleasure.